Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trump Tyranny Tracker. I'm Zev Shalev with Olga Lautman. It's so good to be with you today as we bring in day 171 of the Trump administration. We are getting closer and closer to 180. It's another day of authoritarian creep. I got to say, Olga, I've been watching Trump closely over the last couple of days, ever since Dean noticed that, he's really slipping in many ways. He does not look well at all. I mean, he's not his old fighting self. He looks like a very diminished person. Is that your sense too?
I mean, I frankly don't pay too much attention to him. He gives enough news, and I look at more of the actions, of what's
Right.
happening behind the scenes. But I mean, look, he has to deal. We have the floods happening. His 90 or 100 trade deals, nothing came
Yeah.
to fruition. I think two.
Yeah.
Potentially Vietnam and
Maybe
UK.
Vietnam, but not even really, and maybe UK, but not even really, because there's no real deal to be had there because they run a surplus.
His
So,
Hamas-Israeli thing is going nowhere. His, Ukraine, Russia, that war is raging, and Russia's genocide is only escalating. So frankly, he has done nothing except accomplish passing his bill that is going to strip over 10 million people of health care and steal basically transfer wealth from the vulnerable, the disabled, the senior citizens, the children, and the poor people to fund the rich people. So, I mean, frankly, if I were him, I wouldn't have
you
that
would be feeling.
much to smile about because he had. And then you have the MAGA infighting happening, and then you have Musk, who is launched this party, and I mean, he's carrying on with this Epstein stuff. So he has a lot of issues. His base is collapsing, not collapsing, but I mean, they're at war with each other, which is always pleasant to see. His base is attacking his, how you call it, appointees, Bondi and Patel and Bongino. It's
And
actually fun to
Hexeth, and, everybody's getting attacked these days. So there was
It's
something
fun
for
to be
everybody.
actually on Twitter these days because
Yeah.
it's like I just need lots of popcorn to watch
Well,
everyone attacking everyone there.
just a quick programming note. Tonight at 7 p.m., I'll be joining Lev Parnas on his Substack, and we'll be talking about all the Epstein findings that I will be revealing again tomorrow, and as we repeat the secret life of Jeffrey Epstein tomorrow at 9 p.m. But tonight at 7 p.m., Lev and I will be going through some of that big data that we've been able to relook at and reanalyze. And there's some really interesting nuggets of information, even some really big stories buried inside all the information we had from 6 years ago. We're going to take a look at that, and we'll be on with Lev later on. So I hope everyone can join us then. But in the meantime, you're here with the Trump Attorney Tracker, and here we are at day 171. Let's begin with this really disturbing story. In a brazen 3-2 vote, Miami's City Commission has unilaterally delayed local elections until 2026, giving themselves an extra year in office, which must be nice if that's what you want. The officials claim they're saving money and want higher voter turnout during presidential years, but they completely bypassed public input despite other referendums still being scheduled for 2025. This represents a fundamental breakdown of electoral accountability at the municipal level, but it's also kind of rigging the elections because obviously people vote for the president or the president's party, in some years, maybe not this year, we'll see, during the midterms.
Yeah, for me, Florida's an interesting case since I started focusing on US 10 years ago when that Agent Orange, as I call him, crawled down that gaudy escalator. Um, I have noticed, I've been also paying attention to Florida, and Florida seems to be like the laboratory of this fascism and these undemocratic practices. And the fact that they are canceling an election without any input from people, there's no national emergency happening or domestic, I mean, not domestic, local emergency in Florida. They just feel like canceling it because they feel like it. And I mean, this, something like Florida is a good indicator to see where the Republican Party is heading, what their next moves are, whether it was during COVID, and the really Putin-esque things that DeSantis was doing, whether it's, the direction of the MAGA base, and now with these canceling of elections, what's happening in universities there and in schools, the banning of books. Like, Florida is just a very good laboratory and, place to keep an eye on to see where the Republican Party goes from here. And this is extremely disturbing because this is exactly, if this is successful in Florida, you can bet that this is going to be tried nationwide and then expanded.
It certainly seems very arbitrary to just move the elections 1 year without really
They don't
justifying
feel
it.
like having.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Well, it must be
We feel like
nice.
being in power an extra year. Never mind elections, never mind our
It does
constituents.
nothing out of Miami or Florida surprises me. So, I'll agree with you there. Did you see the report about the Alcatraz story where there was a detainee who was describing mosquitoes the size of elephants? And I was trying to figure out what that would look like, but that does sound terrifying, actually, and I'm sure that's what they have there. I mean, must be really large mosquitoes, maybe not quite the size of elephants, but something like it. Moving on to the second story today, Trump has threatened Brazil. So Trump is now wielding economic warfare to protect his international authoritarian allies. He's threatening Brazil with 50% tariffs unless they halt prosecution of far-right ex-president Jair Bolsonaro, calling the legal proceedings a witch hunt. Trump also accused Brazil of censoring American speech and siding with China and Russia. Brazil's president, Lula da Silva, has responded defiantly, vowing to resist U.S. pressure. But this is insane. You're now using U.S. tariffs to have your friend taken off of a criminal charge. That's just unbelievable. That's so crooked.
This is where we are. And just to remind people, who might, have forgotten,
Mm-hmm.
Bolsonaro is being prosecuted for attempting a military coup,
Yeah,
a
real.
deadly coup to stay in power
Mm-hmm.
after he lost election, like his buddy Trump. Bolsonaro is being prosecuted for a plot to either assassinate or poison the current president
Yeah,
during that time, and the Supreme Justice. And Bolsonaro was involved in an insurrection against the Supreme Court. We all saw the scenes playing out, and it basically looked like our January 6th in Brazil. So you have Trump using economic threats of the
yeah,
United States
yeah,
and U.S. Basically agencies to threaten an insurrectionist who wanted to poison his political opponent so he could stay in
yeah.
power. So this is where we are.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Just to sweeten the whole thing, I think Bolsonaro is still in exile in Florida, as it turns out. So, that's where he's been hanging out to avoid some of this prosecution. Maybe he's gone back, but I think he was still there. And last I checked, so this guy was a terrible version of Trump. I mean, he was even worse than Trump in some ways. And more brazen in their corruption. There was that family than the Trump family, but they were also very close to the Trump family. I mean, Bolsonaro's kids were always in Mar-a-Lago. There was always this special relationship between these guys.
okay.
But that's frightening that's a special relationship, and that he's willing to use the American tariff system to punish Brazil for following the rule of law and defending democracy. It's
Well, insurrectionists flock together.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
we're lucky Trump hasn't reached the stage of Putin, and apparently Bolsonaro of plotting to poison his opposition party
Right.
and anyone running against him. So at least we have that much. But I mean, this is honestly, the whole thing is outrageous.
It is outrageous. Story number 3, ICE agents are now accessing a massive database called the ISO Claim Search, containing over 1.8 billion insurance claims and 58 million medical bills to hunt down immigrants for deportation. This database includes names, addresses, tax IDs, license plates, and sensitive medical information. It was originally designed for fraud detection. Now it's being used and weaponized for immigration enforcement. It's turning healthcare into a surveillance tool. I don't have any idea of why they have access to this. How come they get access to this website and database?
Because they feel like it,
Yeah,
and we have no one to stop them. But honestly, this again, we see the surveillance, we see the collection and tapping into databases, the various databases, fusing of databases, and as I keep reminding people, they start with the undocumented immigrants,
yeah,
then they weaponize these, once they perfect these tactics, then they turn it to visa holders, green card holders. Now they apparently are going to go after naturalized citizens.
mm,
So frankly, this is, part of the expansion that it really will be weaponized against everyone.
right.
So
Because they build the
today it's
system.
yeah, it's undocumented immigrants today. Tomorrow it's going to be an American.
And it might be already. We just don't know about it. I mean, the fact is, they say that they're only using it for undocumented immigrants, and that's probably true. But once you've got it set up, you can look up anything probably because you've got access to the database, and we don't know quite how Palantir has shared all this data across the system. And we're told that they
Absolutely.
have shared everything, but we don't know how. And so maybe that data is already being cross-referenced against other information about citizens in America that probably
Absolutely.
includes medical
Absolutely.
information people shouldn't know about. I mean, it probably contains really sensitive information.
Yeah. And 1.8, what is a billion claims? I mean, that's not, a small database. So
Yeah,
that I'm sure all of us are in it because every single one of us has either been in a car accident or
mm,
visited a hospital or had to have, laboratory work. I mean, I don't know of one from the day you're born, you're, accessing medical
yeah.
being put into medical databases. So I mean this is literally affecting everyone.
And I mean, whatever happened to the HIPAA rules? I thought there were rules to around what could be accessed medically, and it doesn't. That just seems to have gone out the window now. It's not even a question.
And a democracy, yes, and
Mhm.
autocracy, they do what they want, and maybe those will get to a court eventually, and then they'll ignore the court, bring it up maybe to the Supreme Court, and the
Yeah,
Supreme Court, why,
we'll just
why
greenlight it.
not? Why shouldn't the king have access to every American's, information on their health?
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, former FBI Director James Comey has posted a beach photo. He remember this. He posted a beach photo way back of the seashells arranged to spell 8647, the numbers 8647, a reference to removing Trump from office. Now, the Secret Service responded by tracking his cell phone and tailing his car across 2 states. Despite Comey deleting the post and denying any violent intent because he was arranging seashells on a beach, not actually planning an assassination, he was surveilled and interrogated twice and accused by Trump officials of inciting assassination. This is ludicrous. And we know the FBI is now investigating him too. I mean, this is ludicrous what is happening
This
here.
is what weaponization of agency looks like.
Yeah,
This is what sham investigations and potential prosecutions look like. Look, I'm no fan of Comey, and frankly,
yeah, me
it
neither.
pains me to even have to document this. But this is about, what is happening. And
Yeah,
Comey is a critic of Trump. Trump, has vowed to go after Comey since 2017 when he bragged to the Russians, I fired that nut job, and now the Russia investigation is finished with. Little did he know, then a special counsel would be appointed, and the fact that they're using again, we are paying for this, and this is what I wish people really grasp. We are paying for this fascism. We are paying for them to use our tax funded agencies to weaponize against whomever Trump chooses. And this is a waste of time, a waste of resources, a waste of money when we actually have real threats. I didn't put in this tracker, but a few days ago, there was a how you call it, article that there's a far right extremist group with how you call it, lawyers, government officials, former government officials, military officials that is now spreading like wildfire across the U.S. I mean, these people, this is what we should be focused on, domestic terrorism,
Right.
not on, Comey. Obviously, Comey is like the size of a giraffe. He's not going to go and do anything, and no one takes Comey serious. And Seychelles is not exactly an assassination. I've had it's death threats online
Yeah.
where people told me you're going to end up on the bottom of a bridge in a box. So, I mean, and I didn't even
It's
consider
awful.
it serious.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever.
But there's something so unseemly about, not even unseemly, it's really invasive that they could actually tail
Yeah.
the FBI director across state lines. For what reason? For posting a photograph on Instagram? I mean, it's really invasive. And this guy's the former FBI director. He might be doing stuff that is, for his clients or whatever it is. He might have business that he wants to keep private. He does not necessarily need to be surveilled for an Instagram post by the Secret Service. And here they are doing just that. I mean, it sounds small and insignificant. And of course it is small and insignificant, but it allows them to surveil former officials and anybody really at the drop of a hat. What, because of an Instagram post? Like, what's that? Like, is that a crime now? Because where do you land up, drawing the line here of where you can start surveilling people like this? It's just, it's nonsensical.
Now, imagine Trump, with
Mhm.
all his praise for Putin in 2016 and carrying on how Putin is the love of his life.
Yeah.
And WikiLeaks, please release the emails times 170 plus times that he said it during campaign. Imagine people were surveilling. Like, that wouldn't even meet the standards to have wiretapping or surveillance done
Yeah. No,
because it's freedom of speech. But here,
I mean, this is just like, it's not even, there's not even, you can't even imagine this is an assassination attempt or anything like it. It's just four numbers on seashells on a beach. I mean, it's nothing to spend your resources on. And it is just
no, if
ridiculous.
he posted a gun and Trump's face next to it, next
Yeah.
to the seashells, like, you remember Roger Stone
Yeah.
put a judge's face
The
in a
target around it.
yeah,
Yeah,
in a bullseye.
exactly.
That's would be more of an assassination
Yes.
attempt as she's trying his case,
Because those
not
deadly
the.
seashells, I mean, they could kill you. Finally, today, our story takes us inside Florida's alligator Alcatraz, where migrants are being held in blackout tents with extreme temperatures, no clocks, 24/7 lighting, broken toilets, and no confidential legal access. One man has been hospitalized, though officials deny it. Lawmakers are barred from visiting the facility. Families can't get answers, and it's unclear whether detainees are in ICE or state custody. This is amazing. DHS claims Florida is solely responsible for conditions. Now, this place looks horrific and really the tough conditions to be putting anyone in. It's not surprising that one person has been sent to hospital.
America's going to have, the stain of now running internment camps
Yeah.
because this is exactly what it is. These people, are being picked up based on the color of their skin. There is really,
Sometimes with the color of their skin, sometimes it's just because there's travelers or whatever and being thrown in there.
yeah.
It's like, it's
Yeah,
just,
but the majority in
yeah,
U.S. and domestic is the color of the skin because, frankly, I have not seen any Russians being hauled off. And I can promise you,
there's
I
a really
have a
interesting
whole
story about
neighborhood
that,
of them,
actually.
of illegal Russians,
Yeah.
and no one's hauling any of them off. There's no ICE raids in their stores or neighborhoods. We have, plenty of undocumented white immigrants here who are not being touched. Their neighborhoods are not being touched. And here, I mean, they're plucking Americans on top of it. I mean, we've seen, American citizens being plucked in this dragnet. Because of the color of their skin. So they're rounding these people up. They are dehumanizing them in the process to justify, these human rights violations. They've been dehumanizing them to the point, that Trump was calling these people vermins, using Hitler language against them. And now they are putting them with no due process into these conditions with heat, no cooling, broken bathrooms. Now, mind you, this is what, within 48 hours or 72 hours? The facility just literally
Yeah.
opened.
Yeah.
I mean, this just opened. It's not that it's been open for a month, 6 months. It just opened somewhere around either July 4th
Yeah.
or July 5th. And this is already what is happening. I mean, there were due processes being denied. They're being kept in the worst conditions. And America's going to have to really, hopefully one day, the UN or someone speaks out of why America is running internment camps.
Well, they're intending to put so many people in there. Once it gets overcrowded, I can't imagine what the conditions are going to be like with all that heat and there's still very limited facilities. I mean, yeah, I don't know why the United Nations has not started asking questions. I don't know why the world hasn't stood up and said, why are people being housed in these conditions? I mean, they're some of their own citizens, Canadian citizens. I think there's 57 of them in various facilities around the country, and it's unclear to me why other governments, or maybe they're just scared to bring it up right now, are not making a bigger deal of the fact that there are so many people being incarcerated for no good reason, like for nothing, and being held for long periods of time without due process. Nothing could be less American than what we're seeing right now
Yeah.
with this.
And if they held them, I mean, one thing, if they even held them in detention centers like that are already established, they are shipping them off to a gulag in El Salvador, to Africa. I mean, everywhere around the world. Again, no due process. And I mean, now you have this, game that no one wants to basically like establish a clear chain of custody. Who is responsible for
Right,
this internment camp?
right.
Is it DHS and the federal government, or is it Florida state officials who
It's
are
probably neither.
responsible?
It's probably some private company that they've outsourced this to, and that's really who's in charge of all of this. It's really disturbing stuff. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think that's it for the Trump Tyranny Tracker today. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with Dean Blundell for the 5-stack, the top 5 stories of the day. And then again at 7 with Lev Parnas to talk about Epstein. It's a long day. I'm not sure I'm going to be awake for that long. I was burning the midnight oil yesterday trying to find out all this new information about Epstein. God, it's a fascinating story. This is the one story that I've been stuck with for, since day one here at Narativ, and I can't let it go. There's something about this story that makes it feel like it's so connected to everything else, and it reveals everything else. So I'm really looking forward to spending time with Lev tonight, and hopefully you can join us. Maybe we'll call in and give us some feedback on all the stuff that you've got. If you're up that late and you've got a minute.
I am up that late. I went to sleep at 5 in the morning because I was finishing the slides for the authoritarian thing. If you look at what time I emailed them, it was like 4 something in the morning.
Oh, wow.
I think
Yeah.
like 4:30.
We both start way too late.
I am unfortunately up and I have so much work, but I'll try. If I while I'm working, I can.
It should be really interesting. There's some good stuff that we're going to be showing tonight, and you've got some great information that I'm dying to download from you. So hopefully I'll be able to reach you later on. That's the Trump Tyranny Tracker today. Everyone should check out the Trump Tyranny Tracker and Unmasking Russia. Olga's amazing Substacks. Subscribe to them.
Someone just asked tomorrow, Friday, you are doing this series.
Yes. Yeah. I just finished. I was editing it late last night, and it's so much better re-edited, and I think people will get a lot out of it. I'm just going to run moments of every episode instead of the whole 6 episodes tomorrow. But there is so much information, and I think people will really begin to see how big a network this was that Epstein and Trump were part of. I mean, it's clear these two were basically part of the same network. That they're not only, it's not a situation of them, well, maybe they abused some people together. They committed what appear to be real financial crimes, and tanking companies and bankrupting companies and doing things that you wouldn't ordinarily do if you didn't have the backing of this network, and they were doing it for that reason. So we'll reveal some of that later on. Thank you very much for being here today. Have a great afternoon, Olga. We'll see you again tomorrow at 2 p.m.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.